Would you like to paint realistic landscape watercolor paintings? I'm Joe Dowden, and I'm inviting you to join my watercolor course, Colour and Value in Realistic Landscape. So I'm spattering water, and you'll see why. I'm spattering water from the bottom of the painting upwards. Now I'm going to get the green that I've already mixed, and I'm going to spatter paint. And this is how to get ultra realistic foliage, ultra realistic foreground. This is a typical dense jungle of foliage that you get alongside the labyrinth of rivers in the British Isles. Very difficult to walk through this. So now we've got a texture, we've got a pattern. When I'm demonstrating, I always dress in black because I don't mind messing clothes up that are black. I don't want to mess up nice clothes. So there we go. Now I can lose some of the lights in there and just brush. This is the first layer. I'm going to show you what I'm doing on the palette. I'm mixing a little bit more color. And then on the other side, it's a bit further away the other side, you don't get this same light effect, but I'm just mixing color. And that's all going all over the riverbank. Now, just to save time, I tend to just pour the color on like that. It's not clever. It's just a quick way of getting lots of color onto the paper. But when I do it, when I'm demonstrating, people think I've done something either incredibly brave or incredibly crazy. It isn't. It's just getting the paint on. I treat the brush as a gas station petrol pump nozzle. I want the paint to just pour off it. And that's watercolor. I'm looking at the painting, looking at the photograph rather, of my painting that I did right back in 1997. So now we've got some foreground color. We've got the whole meadow done. And now I'm going to paint the background. I'm going to get some color on, some water on, by brushing water with this dry brush effect. And what I'm doing is I'm brushing sideways with the side of the brush. It's a sable, it's got a belly. This is a squirrel, and that's got a belly on it. Here is a synthetic brush, dead flat, all the way. Can you see that? The sides are flat, straight as a fence post. So on the top, they shape them especially so you can use that to get dry brush. But it's not, I don't find it very satisfactory. I just want to use the belly of a brush, natural fiber brush, and we'll brush that across like that. So now we've got some water in there, and now I'm going to brush some more color. Here we go. I'll put that here as a reference. That's the photograph just out of the painting, and we're going to just brush some color in just here and there. So that's the first layer nearly done. But I've still got plenty of light. I've still got plenty of sky in there. So that's still straight. And we've got a lot of strong green gathering down here. So I'm gonna get the point of the brush into these pools of color and put it back onto the painting over here where it needs a little bit more.
If you want to paint realistic landscapes with a simple approach, this is for you. I'm teaching in simple steps. You will discover watercolor techniques for realistic painting. I'll show you how to handle many subjects. I'll demonstrate how you can mix realistic colors, and I'll show you how you can paint bright and colourful and make your paintings stand out. I'm looking forward to helping you.
And now I'm going to start spattering again. So to do this, the actual brush number is number 8, sable. So I'm going to spatter water, spatter color. I used to feel that this was too difficult to demonstrate, but after a few years, I started demonstrating it and using spatter. Now I'm not spattering leaves. This spatter is the dark shadows between stuff. So now we're going to use the same brush to spatter paint. And there's 3 layers of this. The main thing is I hope I get it done. Usually at the end, everything comes together very suddenly. I'm using up a lot of paint. I'm mixing more paint. I'll show you. You've got to be really bold with this. I try to do the best possible demos I can. I try to aim at getting a gallery standard painting, a nice painting. So I'm spattering, and at the end, you'll see why it works so well. I spatter always from the bottom upwards. Back into the color, back to the bottom of the painting, and spattering from the bottom upwards. As you go up, the spatters get smaller and smaller, and they give you perspective. They start large at the bottom, trying to get big, powerful shapes there. There we go. Now I'm just going to brush up here. What I'm going to do is brush bright yellow green in like this. Take the stencil away. I'm brushing bright yellow green. I can spatter a little bit more of that into that zone there. What I'm trying to do is get the in-between shapes. Wow, that happens. I'm going to have to come back and sort that out. Got a big mark from the stencil. So I'm trying to spatter the shadows. Leaves create a labyrinth of shadows and textures. Let's take that out. Get some kitchen roll. Always got kitchen roll nearby. I don't want any color in there. That's just going to be sky reflection in the water. Bright yellow going on. This is bright yellow paint with a bit of green in it. Just brushing that over because I want bright, strong paintings. I used to look at photographs and think, I like that. Why can't I get those exact same colors in a watercolor painting? And people believed you couldn't do it. You couldn't get photographic color into a watercolor painting. And yet photographic color is so beautiful. The people who develop the pigments are artists. They're color men and women with a powerful sense of color. That's why they're being employed by these top companies. Fuji, Agfa, Kodak, you know, the list goes on. And now Sony and Nikon, and they're artists as well. The people sorting out all the digital photography. So eventually I found, well, the pigments are the same. They're the same materials. And you can get paintings as bright as a photograph. And I found that I wasn't competing with other artists in the late 90s, early 2000s, to sell paintings in towns. I was competing with video shops and car dealers, powerful images. No use competing with other artists because all the colors of the late 20th century, they're so bright. In the 1950s, British watercolor paintings were really dull and grey. It's the Americans who taught us to use bright colors from the USA. People like Philip Jameson and Levere Hutchins. There are dozens of them, wonderful painters. My colleague, brilliant artist, Richard Thorne, he was one of the first in Britain to really take it up and show that you could use bright colors. So now I want to hurry up and get this done. So got lots and lots of bright color. And now I'm spattering. This is soft focus spatter. So we've got a bit of a texture there. And I'm going to put a little bit more in, like that. It's going quite well, like that. And then we're going to dry it and put in another layer. I've run out of the Hooker's Green. Usually I use Phthalo Green. Hooker's Green by Winsor & Newton's a very bright green. It's showing up brighter green on the monitor than it is in real life. So now I'm just going to put more color into here. And then we're going to dry it again a second time. And then I'm going to put a layer of extreme dark. I'm going to use a cerulean blue because I remember all those years ago when I painted this, I used cerulean blue. So I'll try and get another palette. I picked up one right here. Hang on. Right, there's a clean china plate. I mix on china, by the way, cerulean blue, and I'm going to add Naples yellow. That. Naples yellow. I'm going to make myself a sort of bluish green. I have an unlimited palette. I don't use a limited palette. I try to sometimes if I'm working plein air, but I use an unlimited palette. There's so many possibilities. And I've got this strange, cool, distant bluish green, which simulates this color here. And it's made of Naples yellow and cerulean blue. So I'm going to put some of this in now. Can't remember how I did it at the time, but I'm just going to try brushing it on like this. Just here and there. I think I'm going to try a little bit more spattering. Actually, that's working fine. Just up and down brush strokes, vertical trees. So just building up a texture. I like that. There. So that's the background. Any more? I could put a little bit more over here. This is more like oil painting technique in that it's going on quite thick and pasty. Right, that's that done. And the next thing, I think I could probably do this now. I'm going to make myself a grey with burnt umber. What I'll do is I'll put the water in right after this. I'm going to put in these background trees. This is water spatter again. So I've spattered water across the background, and that will enable me to put in these trees. I'm doing more spatter than I usually do. So clusters of trees with some gaps. I need another brush. That brush is not doing it very well. I need something that really, really points. to get a long, thin point. I always have a favorite brush. This is the number 8. So just putting in these trees with cerulean blue, burnt umber, and then once I've done the background, then I'll put in the water and then we'll let it dry for the next step. There'll be a darker layer of trees as well. So now I'm going to put in the water and wonder if the cerulean blue would probably be okay for that. So cerulean blue, and I need a magenta. I'm going to put a little bit of naphthol red into it. This is just any old red, really. Just happen to have this naphthol red. I'd use quinacridone magenta. That'd be just as good. But I just want it to be slightly violet. And then I want to put a little bit of brown in to make it a bit grey. That's it. I bet that's fine. I bet that's absolutely fine. Now I'm going to wet the foreground area. I'm wetting the water. I've got to keep that wetness away from the riverbank because I don't want any green paint coming in there. And now this is going to be our nearby blue sky reflection in the water. That'll do. Watercolor is the art of stopping. You stop one step and move on to the next. If you keep working something, it goes muddy. So here goes the spatter. Very strong in the foreground. Now we're going to spatter paint with the same brush because this is the ideal brush. I want my image. It's there. I've got it just out of shot up there. I need lots and lots of paint on this brush. I need to show you. I need to show you the palette. You need to see what's happening. I'm going to need more color in there, in that palette. But spattering from the bottom up, always spattering from the bottom up. I've got to get more color on the palette. I'm just going to use Payne's Grey, nothing else. I just want it to be dark. So this is how you can create the most amazing foliage, but don't try with a synthetic. It's disappointing. It won't work. The only way I've ever found of doing this is with a sable brush. If anybody discovers another way, please come and tell me. I would be delighted. So now we're getting lots of texture into the foreground. That's working quite well. I'm concentrating on getting vertical texture along the riverbank. It's more or less vertical. Another little trick you can do is with another brush, you can spatter water into the texture and spattering water into the texture, and it just joins it up a little bit. But it's quite extraordinary how realistic it can look. If you can paint realistically, you can do anything. If you can just paint in an expressionist, emotional way, but not paint realistic, you're limited in what you can express. You can paint realistically and be as abstract as you like, but you'll have the tools. Now, I just need to spatter a little bit more water along here. Now, in the distance, the texture goes horizontally, so I'm just going to get that feeling by doing this sideways spatter. There we go. Now I'm going to take this off so I can actually see what's happening. There's my reference, my own painting, and I can spatter over that just to make it a little bit more natural. I want to just get this done very quickly now, so I'm going to spatter a lot of water into this as fast as I can. I'm going to get a little bit of a stencil into that zone there. So splattering water, and we're going to be ready to spatter more paint just along here. Don't want it to be too linear. I want it to be quite rough, no lines. Another bit of paper over there. Now if I can go carefully upwards, another bit of paper, plenty of printer paper. That stops it going too far up. And then we can spatter a little bit more water, another clean brush, and I'm spattering water along there, and then I can actually brush into the spattered water like that for long linear shadows. So that's that done. Now you can do this, which is just take out the brush along the lower riverbank. You need more color. So more, put that in shot, more Payne's grey going in. And then once I've got this foliage, and this is the most difficult part, after this is just put in the trees and trying to keep away from having strong lines in there. Just want to get the absolute roughness of the texture. And spatter a little bit more water over that. That just blends it in, makes it natural. And these are not leaves, they're shadows. You're painting the shadows between things. Now we get ourselves into the distance. I need to see where's the base of this woodland, because the woodland is quite dark. I'm going to brush up and down with water. If you listen carefully, you might hear it. So I want a dark edge there. Quite like the idea that there's a bit of blue in it. So I've just dumped the brush into the cerulean blue, and I'm going to just, it really is rather strong. See if I can get a bit of yellow. I'll put the palette over there. Need to find the yellow paint. Sometimes I just like to drop raw color into something, let it sort itself out, and it doesn't always have to have a reason for being there. You can have different bright colors next to each other and let them mix in the eye. Right, so now I'm just brushing this blue color. It's quite dark, leaving a few spaces. Put that back in the palette, come back to this dark color here, weave a little bit of that in. Now I can over spatter with water again. I want to lose the hard edges. It's surprisingly accurate, that spatter. You can get some great detail, you can get great accuracy with it. We can brush that up. So we've got some soft dry brush effect. We've got nice hard edges as though there were foliage shining in the sun, sunlight shining through it. Blend of hard and soft. I've got a mirror here. I use a mirror. So there's a car mirror. I've had it years and years. It's even got a nice handle to hold it with. Look, see, just there. So I'm holding the mirror. I'm looking at it in the mirror because at this stage it's hard to tell what's going on. You need the second opinion. The mirror gives me that. So now I want lots of dark. So I've got Payne's grey, a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm gonna get some green from here. I'm going to put it into this palette here. A little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of dark, a little bit of green. And we're going to brush a darker layer of trees into this zone here. Let me just straighten that up again. I'm going to spatter some water across the background. Now, what this will do is diffuse the trees into the background. In fact, there's no sky in this painting. I'm treating the forest as the sky. The forest is diffusing the light just like clouds. So now I've got my color ready. I can start to put in trees like that. I want to keep them incredibly irregular. As thin as I can get them. I notice in the background here, they're very pale in my painting, and I'm going to try and keep that element. I want the grey, pale grey, not much colour. I'm brushing to get, I'm trying to clean the brush and get just grey. That's it. Now we're coming across. We've got the distant forest, and it's incredibly broken up. And as the motif for this, I think of a barcode. Barcode is a brilliant sort of way of thinking about a forest. So almost impossible not to paint something in a very regular fashion. Now we've got this distant bit of woodland over here. I'm mixing lots of colors together on the palette, and I'm getting a dark blue green. So if I just spatter that like this, I've got the forest, extremely irregular, lots and lots of paint on the brush. So I've got a bit of dark in there. I can paint it as well. I like that blue. So I've got some blue coming off the palette here. I've got all the different colors. Want a kind of bluishness I'll put back in. I'm using the edge of the paper to get the color blended in. Got some lighter green coming in here. Let's go vertical, horizontal. I'm thinking of the direction the brush strokes need to take. Different colors. We'll put this in like that, very strong. And rough. So the paper, the paint is coming off the brush quite unevenly. I want to look at it in the mirror. One of the worst problems when we paint trees as artists, this is a problem we can all have, is we just do them too thin. I don't know why. I want to get them nice and big. Now, but I'm just using my own photo as my own painting as a guide. Need more paint. I say that so often. I need more paint. I'm just going to show you a brush called a sword liner. I can do this without a sword liner, but this is a sword liner here. The only ones around are synthetics, but the synthetic ones actually work quite well. So sword liner will give you beautiful brush marks for trees. They need a lot of paint, always need a lot of paint. So you can get very long, thin lines with them, and they like to be painted rapidly. You have to press them down quite hard. And they make a lot of spiky shapes, and they break up and make you different branches. They just want to paint branches. But I'm going to come back to my normal brush because they'll do a certain type of shape, but I want the type of shape that these alders give. And it's difficult to get the tree type. You can get generic tree branches with a sword liner, beautiful, but they'll always be the same type of mark. So there we go, we've got that tree in place, and the next thing I want to do is break it up along the base by spattering water into it. So I'm spattering water into the base of the tree, and that will join it up to the ground. Back to the Naples yellow. I'd like to get some Naples yellow into it. There's Naples yellow there, and I've mixed it with some green. I'm going to just put a little bit into the tree like that. I'm going to get this tree in place. I'll put this brush back here. Now I'll get this tree in place. So I'm just going to still need to sketch it a little bit. So that seems to go like that. That's talking to myself here, not explaining anything, but I'm just trying to work out what that tree looks like. Right, that'll do. And I've got a little bit of brown, a little bit more Naples yellow. I'd like to get some burnt umber, more burnt umber. And I'm going to put that tree in, then it's the water reflections, and then we're done. So I'll show you the palette. You must see the palette. You must see what's going on. Try and explain everything. When you watch these on the video, you'll be able to look back and replay it and get those little bits that you missed, or, you know, I don't know which package, but you can ask questions and I'll explain all the things that I wished I'd had, you know, when I started out painting. I thought, well, I used to sit by a river and wishing some artist would come along and tell me how they do it and how they do a sky. And I used to paint plein air, never ever see another soul painting plein air, painted plein air from 1964 right up into the 80s. Never saw a single artist out there when I was painting. Absolutely brilliant to see artists, people having a go, trying to paint. Doesn't matter if it's any good or not, it's plein air. Right, there we go. I'm using the sword liner because it's quick. And you have to really press the thing down. There you go. Why? Nice big block there. I'm gonna just really hit that with a damp tissue. Put the board back where it was before.
Joe, I have a suggestion, just to make sure that we use the time very well. So my idea is that you take a break from painting, I walk through the details of the logistics, and then during the Q&A session, you paint the water and answer some questions. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Excellent.
Oh, I love it when when the break provides solutions. That is often required as an artist, but also as
just to explain this, I have to do this right now. I've wet below the tree with a few little brush marks. So it's broken. There's some lights and darks in there where the tree will follow where I put the water, and I'm putting a little bit of a shadow along there by applying some paint into the water. And then just here, I'll just put a little bit more detail into the distant riverbank. That's about it. So
okay, are you ready to take a break?
Yeah, I have to just do this. I have to put this paint in while it's still wet.
Of course.
And then I will be ready to take a break. And I promise you the water has to be done in about 7 minutes max, but preferably about 3.
Okay, then you're gonna have to multitask and have questions at the same time.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. So
think that's about right.
while you just catch your breath so that you you are ready for the water,
Yeah.
let me share the journey, the learning process. If you choose the Premium Pro plan, which is the most content, the most support, then you would start by having 90 days, and then of course there is lifetime access to this program, but we encourage you to complete it within 90 days because you will have the possibility of getting personal feedback from our wonderful curator during the first 90 days. So the process here is that you do the module 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and also the bonus module will be accessible, or you will have access to the bonus module if you choose the Premium Pro plan. And then we also have a support system to help you even further during the additional 3 months. So after these 90 months are over, you will get exclusive access as a bonus to a wonderful, strong community with additional support. And we're gonna take a look at that additional support. We've had many questions in the chat about that. It's something called Artefacto Family 3. And you will have access to that after those 90 days, which we want you to use to focus on the program, Realistic Watercolor Landscapes. And if you choose the Premium Pro plan, you will get access to Artefacto Family 3, which includes one theme per month. And this theme will be encouraged by both an exclusive painting Zoom session with a professional artist. This artist will be different every month to keep the topic, to keep the input and inspiration and vibrancy from new people every month, and they can also focus on their expertise. So this is a way to just encourage you and support you even more. We also every month have a curator-led Zoom session. Here you get to ask your questions, get some tailored exercises to help you with the theme of the month, etc. You will also have access to workshop recordings, additional materials, additional lessons, and also be part of a wonderful, active, creative community. And there will be different activities as well. So this is definitely a chance to just continue the motivation and get the chance to ask questions if anything pops up during the first 90 days of the program. Artefacto Family 3 is a membership that is ongoing, so you will have access for the months that you have access, and then when you stop being a member you will not have access anymore. So during 3 months you will have access to these live Zoom sessions with a wonderful watercolor artist, curator-led Zoom sessions where you get personalized guidance and feedback, recordings of open workshops that are conducted throughout the month, a club library of lessons from world-class masters, and as well additional materials and club activities. And we also have a wonderful, active, super kind and loving and supportive community. So when you join the Premium Pro plan, you will both have the marathon that I shared previously, and also the Art Marathon Realistic Landscapes. That was the one with the waterfall and the autumn scene, and this is added also. So now you understand why we feel that Premium Pro is such a wonderful pricing plan. It includes so much inspiration. And here are the different plans. If you have any further questions, you can just email us at info@artefactoschool.online. I think I said that correctly, info@artefactoschool.online. And make sure to join us while we still have the bonuses, the discounts, and any spots available, because there's a limited number of spots for the premium and also for the Premium Pro plan, which have individual written feedback from our curator. So we're super excited to welcome you to this brand new program by Joe Dowden. And we're looking forward to seeing your amazing progress that you will get when you join and dedicate time and passion and focus to just get to the next level in your watercolor journey. And how it all works is that you simply click the join the course button. You choose the plan that works best for you, and then you can pay using bank card, PayPal, Google Pay, anything that you want. It's a secure payment, so we don't get access to any of that information. And after that, you will receive an email with access to the course so you can get started. We also have a guarantee, so if you, after a couple of lessons, realize that this was not the right fit for you, just email us and we will give you all of your money back. And if you are unable to handle the total fee at once, we do have the option to make payments in 3 monthly installments. So then you can just click, I want to pay monthly, and that will be sorted for you. And after the 3 months of payment, that's when you will get access to the bonuses and to the lifetime access of the program. So we hope that you join us now so that you get the best price, so that you get the RD coins, the bonuses, and yeah, just take part of this wonderful journey that lies ahead of you. So with that said, it's time to both watch Joe painting the 3-minute magic. And if it's too intense, Joe, for you to do that while at the same time answering questions, I totally understand. So I'm gonna let you decide how to progress from.
No, that's okay. Yeah, fire away, because I always have to paint like this. And if I really find I can't cope with it, that I'll just say so, and everybody will be quiet. But we're all artists. We're all about the same. We all think the same. I always find that. I've worked with painters from 5 continents last week, and we're all about the same. There's a great fellow feeling among painters as well. So what I'm doing is just finishing this few little lines to complete it. And I wanted to put a little bit of detail on here. But now I'm ready to paint the water. So I've got a new palette to paint the water with. I'm going to mix a lot of this Naples yellow up. And I've got intense Payne's grey there. I'm going to be putting yet more Payne's grey on. I've painted a painting before with 32 colours in one painting, and it was absolutely fine. And I exhibited it alongside a painting that I'd taken 3 weeks to paint, and there were only 5 colours in that painting. It was Arabia. There wasn't much green. I used quinacridone gold and a little bit of blue for palm trees. But it was very, very colourful. So I don't have a set rule. Now I'm just going to try and mix this intense, dark river water reflection. So I've got lots of Payne's grey there. I need yet more Payne's grey. So I'm putting a blob of Payne's grey on there. I was told many years ago that if I wanted to get into the top exhibitions in Britain, these superb Royal Societies they have, we're very fortunate, but they wouldn't accept green paintings and bright green paintings. And that's what I painted. So at that time, I was unable to exhibit, but I had a mentor who helped me. She was the wife of a brigadier general in the British Army. And she was very kind to me. She recognized that, she liked my paintings. And she gave me a lot of good advice. So now I'm ready to start applying color. I need to make sure everything is in place. And I liked the blue in there, so I'm going to make sure I've got some blue, cerulean blue. Some advice with cerulean blue. Put it on once, very wet, and leave it alone. You cannot go back to this stuff. Just put it on once and leave it alone. It bites straight down into the paper, and as soon as you try and brush it about, it won't shift. It just goes muddy. It drives down into the fibers instead of sitting on the surface. Other colors are not like that. You can get away with it. So now I want to get lots of color on there. I'm going to move these out of the way. The painting is surrounded by palettes. This is the most important part of the painting. I also need some yellow paint. Got the Sheminka yellow. I'd like to use that, but I can't get the lid off. I really can't get the lid off that. I'd have to go to the kettle and get the kettle on it. But it's difficult plein air because the lids stick fast. But they're such good paint, Sheminka. Unbelievably good. Highly, highly controllable color. and they don't form hard edges. Right, got lots of yellow there now. So I need a base color for the wash I'm going to put on, and it's quite thick. So I've got Naples yellow and cadmium lemon. You need to see the palette. Cadmium lemon, Naples yellow. And here it goes. We're going to just brush it on. Sometimes I wet the paper first, but this is going to go wet onto dry, wet onto dry. And I'm going to paint in stripes straight down from the riverbank, and horizontal stripes. And then while that's wet, I'm going to apply dark paint straight into it in stripes. Naples yellow is a little bit thicker than I'd really like it, but things are never perfect. They just have to be satisfied. So now we're going to get a nice, well-pointing brush. My number 8 is the best one for this. I'm going to follow the major tree reflections down. There we go. And vertical, these are vertical marks. You see, they're vertical. Vertical equals wet. Vertical equals wet. Blurred and vertical especially. Now I'm going to just get some blue paint from here, kind of imitating what I did before. A little bit of blue in there. I have a mirror. I'm looking in the mirror just to see how it's going. And you can't trust your eye. So we've got vertical, and now we've got the coming out into the foreground. Now I want to get lots and lots of mass tone. This is right. Now I've got more Payne's grey, possibly not quite enough, but I'm just going to put these darks in, and dark verticals.
And here it is instead wet into wet because you've already painted it.
Yeah, that's it. Wet into wet there.
Mm.
And I need yet more Payne's grey. So there's a lot of dark going in, but it's nearly finished. And look at it in the mirror. Look at it in the mirror, because that really helps me to see what's happening. So I see stuff that's missing. So just here, for example, we want to go up under these bushes. We're going to get rid of all that white there.
Of course.
And the same in here. You need to get the darks where they belong. That's all got to be dark. I've got a lot of Naples yellow on there. Bit too much, really. But basically I need to get the black into it so I can overpower the Naples yellow. And then here we've got some more darks going in. I need to just do something under that riverbank. Lots of little bits and pieces, but it's basically finished.
It's incredible how many techniques we've seen in action during this demonstration.
Yeah.
And so many tips. It's
very nearly finished. I'm just going to get a clean brush. This happens to be an Indian synthetic squirrel, the only effective synthetic brush I've ever found, and I'm still experimenting with it. Pandas, Chinra Panda, very well-known artist, very nice chap as well. Yeah, I've known him for years on the internet, but the first time I got to meet him was in Delhi last week. So now I've just put a little bit of a darkness up into the riverbank there. Now I've just got to have a look at it, see what's happening. It's all shining in the light. So I'm looking at it in the mirror so I can just get some handle on what's going on with it. And what I want to do is I want to get some more darkness into there. So it's sort of quite frenetic, just trying to get that last little bit right while it's wet, because it's all got to be done while it's wet in one go. Very, very difficult to go back and do anything. So I've got some darkness in there at last. That's what I wanted. There's some masking fluid to come off here at the end, but that's more like it. Now I'll just have a look at that and see how it's doing. Look on the monitors. Oh, it's just so much reflection from the light. So all of that is obviously light reflection from the LED lights, but I'm just going to finish it off now. But I'm using this synthetic brush because it's doing, but it can do very thin lines. I like that. That was one thing I noticed about it when I used it last week in a workshop. It would do very thin lines. And no one had any sable brushes out in India, so I needed to do something with the brushes they were using. But they're available in Europe. Just here, I need to just fill that in off the riverbank. And then basically I'm going to dry it now because nothing more I can do. So I'm going to dry it just so you can see it.
Wonderful. And people really want to see at least when you rub off some of the masking fluid as well.
So before I do that, just you look away and you look back at it and you can see bits where it just needs a touch more doing. And we can do a few little marks that would indicate but the danger is always the ever-present danger of overworking. At this stage, yeah, I've got to plug in the other head dry as well.
We've had several questions regarding the masking fluid, and Joe has not removed that yet, so it's still on. That's what's going to create the next level of light effects when that is removed. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your comment. Yeah, speeding up the process by using 2 hair dryers. That's smart.
Right, I'm just going to take off masking from here.
Yeah.
Where you can see what's going on there.
Wow, so much light that just popped back into the picture.
And then there's going to be a lot of stuff coming off out of the sky.
Ooh.
So then there's a little bit of snagging where we basically fill back in what we've taken out. But that is very rapid, I can promise you. So I'll show you how that goes. So we've got everything out of the sky. The sky just looks a bit more textured and rough. So foreground, we basically touch in the leaves, foreground leaves like this. Little bit more color. Here, where they cross over the trees is brilliant because we can just touch them in with yellow. And it's picking up the surrounding color. It's hardly anything to see actually. but it just means you've got a few yellow leaves in front of the tree. That's the theory of it. Now we're going to do a little extra trick here. Originally, this was painted on Whatman paper, which behaves quite differently from this stuff, but this trick will still work on this paper. We're going to lift by rubbing water along it, and by doing that, we get a little bit of a streak, and we're going to do it again, slightly converging, so that gives us these muddy sunlit streaks of light. Then we can go over it with a bit of yellow paint like that.
This was incredible, Joe. So
And I
many
just
things.
have to look at it in the only way I can see what on earth is going on is to look at it in the mirror. Then this is slightly more awkward. We have to go get some vertical lifts. This gives you blurred and vertical lifts, and I have to touch it back in again with a little bit of color. So, but it works fine. So we've got yellow paint nearly running out of that as well. Cadmium lemon as well, it will overpower paint underneath. So you can actually paint cadmium lemon over dark and get these very beautiful light highlight effects. Once that's in place, then I just have to lift again, or dry it again, and we're done. So I'm just doing a bit of lifting, gentle, soft highlights being lifted there. And I want a lifted highlight across here. We've got a lot of masking to take off there. Won't take a second, but that's that. I think that's just about done. So I've got to dry it completely now. I'm taking all the palettes away and take that away.